Hi, my name is Bill Casey, and I'm really honored to be a part of your convention this year. I'm from Neuqua Valley High School, which is located in Naperville, Illinois, which is a western suburb of Chicago. And what I'm going to talk to you about during this session is how we incorporated Health Move Minds into our school, but it's actually going to go beyond that. It's going to talk a lot about social emotional learning. So hopefully I can entice you to possibly be a part of Health Moves Minds, because it really is a great Kickstarter to get some fantastic programming into your school situated about social emotional learning. But then you're going to see not only how we at Neuqua Valley High School took Health Moves Minds to kind of get us kickstarted in both the physical education and health education areas, but then to take that through the rest of the school and actually evolve it over the years. We've actually done 2 Health Moves Minds programs. The first one was done in the 2018-2019 school year, where we had done it in the spring. Then we followed it up in the 2019-2020 school year in the fall, and now we've done something a little bit different. But like I said, I'm going to show you different pieces of how we actually put this together. So the first thing I want you to think about is personal wellness. When we think about personal wellness, that encompasses a lot. In physical education, we think of the physical side mostly because we are dealing with health-related fitness, whether it be cardiovascular fitness, muscle fitness, flexibility. We even bring nutrition into some of our lessons, and that's where a lot of our concentration on wellness is completely. But what if we looked at the other side of things, the emotional wellness piece? That's just as important. Mind and body are completely connected. So we would want to look at both aspects and bring them together. And that's what I want you to think about when you're looking through everything that I'm going to be talking to you about. Physical education is the perfect environment to be bringing in social emotional learning. We know how important it is. It's not just a buzzword. These are things we have done ourselves for years. We just never tagged it as social emotional learning. But now it's so much more rich. We have so much more content that can really help every single student, every single person when it comes to their educational experience. And I think physical education and health education are the perfect places where we can do this. Now, why did we do this at Neuqua Valley High School? Well, if you look at some of the numbers that are coming up in front of you right there, this was done off of a survey that we take in Illinois called the Illinois Youth Survey. Now, this is done with the sophomores and the seniors of every single high school. So they're all required to take this survey. They're not all required to answer every single question, but those that did, this is what came out. The sophomores and seniors, essentially it came out to about 30% of them reported that they had some symptom of depression during the school year at one time or another. 15% came out saying that at one time or another they had thoughts of suicide. Now what that said for DuPage County and specifically Neuqua Valley High School was that was like 1/3 of all the students were suffering from some type of social emotional health struggle at one point or another throughout the school year. We found that this was not just a Neuqua Valley High School thing. We found this was a national and a worldwide type of phenomenon that is going on. We're seeing it at all schools. Sadly, we're seeing it starting it as early as elementary and then working its way up through high school. And this is something that doesn't matter the size of your school, whether it be big or small. Neuqua Valley, in our case, is around 4,000 students. So there we're talking about 1,300 students potentially suffering from some type of social emotional health struggle at one point or another during the school year. So what did we do? We tried to look at different methods that we could bring in, and that's when Health Moves Minds came out. Health Moves Minds came out with the concepts of bringing in different grade levels and focusing on specific skills. And I like to call them skills. I don't want them to define these things like mindfulness as something that we're just defining. It's more of a skill we're trying to develop. And Health Moves Minds was perfect for that. It had a lot of curriculum already put together for the K through 8 level. But then we had to try to look at what are we going to do at the high school level. Well, fortunately, we had a little bit of freedom to think about that. And what we fell on was advocacy being the most important piece. Advocacy in the sense of advocating for one another If somebody needs help, I'm going to advocate for them. Hey, what's going on today? How can I help you? But in the same token, self-advocating. In other words, feeling like, you know what, something just doesn't feel right. I should get some help. I should talk to somebody. I should self-advocate and try to get the help that I need. This is what we push more than anything with the high school students, and we feel is going to be a big part of the Health Moves Minds curriculum in the long run. Now, what you see here is step one. Step one was week one. Whether we did it in the spring of the 2018-2019 school year, or we did it in the fall in the 2019-2020 school year. We did it the same way both times. Step one was get to the students. And when I say get to the students, we did a presentation in all of our physical education and health classes. Now, the good thing about that, especially in a high school and in any school, is the fact that you can reach every single student that way, because eventually you're going to see every single student. Now, we're blessed to be able to have daily physical education in our high school. In elementaries throughout Illinois, it might not be, they won't have necessarily daily physical education, but they will see their students several days a week. And again, they'll see every single student. So the good part about a PE and a health curriculum is you will reach every student. And that's what we did. We first did a presentation to every single student that kind of walked them through what this looked like when we were talking about Health Moves Minds. Now, to give you a quick sample of what that looks like, I'm going to show you kind of the slideshow that we presented to them. And it, just quickly going through it, it shows the different types of things that we were talking about social emotional health, how individual it is to them. Here's something that you just saw about the Illinois Youth Survey that we brought up to them as well, and what that really meant. And so what it did is it kind of screamed to a lot of students that, hey, wait a second, this is affecting other people, not just me. And then we brought to them the different types of help that they can get, whether it be talking to a friend, counselors, teachers, parents. We had a specific website that they can find more information, and then it came into other types of outside sources that they could find, and an actual week that we ended up looking at that let the students participate in different aspects or skills that we were trying to develop when it comes to social emotional learning, such as kindness, mindfulness, empowerment, advocacy, and gratitude. So that was the slideshow for that. And I quickly went through that, but it's something that you'll be able to see yourself as well, because I'm going to share all these materials with you as well. Now, what did this do for us? What we found after we did this, each time, we actually had students start to advocate, either advocate for a friend, somebody they know, a family member, or for themselves. An example of one of the letters that we got to a teacher from an actual student is right here. This actually came from one of our freshman students this last year, where it says, I need help. I think I'm really depressed. I've been depressed since 7th grade, and I can't take much more pain. It had gotten better for a while. The thoughts have come back, hurting myself and not wanting to live anymore. I've never reached out for help, but your talks in the gym made me question my reasoning to not get help. My family doesn't know about it, and I have no one to turn to. Can you help? This is an actual letter we got from one of our students. And one of the things that really, I think, stood out to the students was a video we put together. The things I'm going to show you are more or less just ideas we came up with. It was a few people getting together, we came up with ideas, and it just started snowballing. If you could get one, two, a couple people involved in this process, you'll find that all the ideas will start coming to you, and a lot of it came from the Health Moves Minds curriculum for us. That kind of kick-started our ideas, and again, it snowballed into new ideas of what would work in our environment, and that's what was really nice with the program. It wasn't a canned program in the sense that we were locked into doing it a certain way. It was more or less a canned program with good information, but gave us the flexibility to develop the program in the way we thought would fit for Neuqua Valley High School. Now, like I said, we put a video together which I think inspired this student and other students. And I want to share part of that video so you could see exactly what it was that was inspirational to these students. Maintaining a healthy lifestyle is not just about our physical health. We need to consider our emotional health as well. Emotional health issues don't discriminate. They can affect anyone at any time, and for any reason.
Over the last several years, every now and then there'd be short instances of terrible panic and anxiety. If I got on a plane, for example, it would just be horrible for about 15 minutes. I'd panic, complete panic. I can't get off, like claustrophobic. And it would happen to me if I was on vacation up in Canada fishing. You know, we're on an island or somewhere and I wake up in the middle of the night in a full-blown panic because I can't get off.
Ever since I was a little kid, I suffered from anxiety. For some odd reason, I was always getting nervous. I would always end up crying for some reason or another. A lot of times, one of the first major times I can think about it was when I was 8 years old. We were at a soccer practice, and as a warm-up, we'd have to do 3 laps around this half-mile track. For some odd reason, my chest started tightening. My breathing got really rapid, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. Tears were streaming down my face, and I was gasping for air the whole way around, and nobody stopped to help me. So every practice, I would just keep running around this big track, and I would be having, what I didn't know is I was having an anxiety attack. Slowly it got worse and worse. Even after I left the team, some of those feelings of dread and worry followed me around like a dark cloud. My eighth grade year,
looking at
everything
the video
just
itself, and
went downhill.
I have this video shared so that you'll be able to see the entire video. We actually made a video for each time we did Health Moves Minds, which I said was twice that we actually did this. The point of the video was these were all teachers and students that we had in there, and each one had at least 5 or 6 different people, a mixture of both teachers and students. And why we did that was it made it very personal for our community, because this allowed people to understand that this was something that was happening in our community rather than just an outside video. So it was very easy to kind of find people, ask them if they would like to share this, and this really became the catalyst to help others feel like, oh, wait a second, I recognize that person, that teacher or that other student, and it made it much easier for them to come out and do that self-advocacy or to advocate for somebody else so that they could find what it is they needed in order to get help. Now, the second step, which I have up on the screen, was to then contact the parents and the community. And we did 2 different sessions where we did a very similar slideshow that we did for the students themselves. For the parents and community, we showed a slideshow with that same video, so again, it felt like our community. So they understood the importance of what it was we were doing by trying to enhance these skills, not just define things, not just find, oh, who's here, who's there, to actually work on these skills so that we could help each other before anyone gets into a place where it would be very, very difficult for them. After that was then the teacher advocacy part. And for the teacher advocacy, again, very similar. As you can see, it was a slideshow we put up there that looked very similar to the other slideshows. And it was the same message. And why did we do it this way? So that there was a common language being said between all 3 of these groups. So to kind of lay it out in a timeline, week 1, each time we did this, we went to the students first. And we did our presentation. Week 2, we went to the parents and the community and gave a presentation that was just a little bit different and spoke to them, but with the same materials and the same language. Week 3, that went to the staff and the teachers. And as a result, we got the same language, and then the teachers started bringing that into the classroom, and that's what they were encouraged to do. They started bringing some of the same language into their classroom, asking the questions that were inspired by the different types of presentations that we were giving. So now it became a school-wide community event where it was working naturally throughout the school and throughout the community. Now, as a result of that, we also had a lot of cooperation from our administration as well. And truthfully, the administration was a part of this from the very beginning. This wasn't something that we just came up with the idea, threw it out there, and administration came in later. We had tremendous support from our administration from the very start. They wanted to do something that was social-emotional learning related, and I think when we picked up the baton from Health Moves Minds and sharing the ideas, working with social workers within the school and counselors and others, the administration really gave us the go-ahead to do that. One of the administrators, our principal at the time, actually did a lot of talks as a result of this. He did talks at Shape America when we were in Tampa, and then at several other places. He is now a superintendent of a local school district, but I want to share the video that he put together showing the importance of this program and how social-emotional learning at our school, in our high school specifically, really worked out well.
My name is Dr. Robert McBride, and I'm the principal of Neuqua Valley, one of the largest high schools in Illinois. We're a very large two-building public high school. And for a number of years, we've been looking at social-emotional learning for two reasons. One, we realize that for students to learn, they have to have comfort, they have to have belonging, they have to have relationship. But also, we've recognized the increase of stress and anxiety in our students and wanted to have a response that was less of a canned program and more of a way that we do business at school. And we already had a district committee. We have a very large K through 12 district of 34 schools, a committee that had adopted CASEL standards. And we were looking as a school to understand how we could bring those standards right here to our school. And we started this year, the beginning of our year, on our very first school institute day with all of our teachers thinking about at the beginning, the middle, and the end of a class how they actually incorporated humanizing students, humanizing themselves, creating relationships, creating belonging. We took that to the middle of the year, and after departments did that work, we shared that out at our January Institute Day, where teachers were looking at each other's work. If I was in math, I was looking at social studies. If I was in English, I was looking at science to understand how my colleagues were incorporating humanization, relationships, connection, advocacy with students. And we ended our final Institute Day of the year with a speaker who came in and talked about the kind of environment that grows learning, with teachers teaching each other strategies that they had adopted over the course of the year. Something felt like it was missing, and really the piece that filled that spot was Health Moves Minds. We were very lucky in the late winter, early spring to pilot Health Moves Minds at our school. It provided a number of things. It provided the fitness component that is so important for wellness. It provided us an opportunity, because all of our students take physical education, to publish to students a destigmatizing of mental health, getting kids talking about it, showing a film, a video that we had created where they saw some of their teachers, some of their classmates talking about their struggles with mental health. Doing a community fundraiser for an organization, NAMI, that is dedicated to helping people cope and deal with challenges to mental health. So in so many ways, Health Moves Minds created that final piece that we needed as a school to really elevate our entire effort, not only to our entire campus, but to all of our 3,500 students. And we look forward to doing Health Moves Minds in the future as well.
So now what I want to do is I want to share all the different pieces of how this came together. So you saw step one, we shared with the students. Step two, we shared with the community. Step three, we shared with the teachers. So now we had everybody kind of in the same place, understanding what it was. And what I want to do is share these materials with you so that you could have a better understanding of what that looked like. So if you go to nvhspe.com, that is our department website for physical education. And on that website, you'll find a link for Health Moves Minds. And what I want to do is take you through what you'll see when you go to that website. So if I do go to that link for Health Moves Minds, what you're going to end up finding there is this exactly all the materials that we used. We put out a lot of different types of advertising around the school, such as what we called Serenity Week, which was kind of a culmination of everything. So remember how I said there were like 3 weeks involved? There was week 1 talking to students, week 2 talking to community, week 3 talking to staff. Week 4, by the very end, was Serenity Week. So this seemed like an entire month-long process that we did when we looked at it both times. And Serenity Week was kind of that culmination of everything. And as you can see from this display that we had here, we had a lot of these posters. We put them up on screens throughout the school, kind of showing what we were doing each day. So Monday was a day of kindness. We were focusing on kindness. Tuesday on mindfulness. Wednesday on empowerment. Thursday on advocacy. And Friday on gratitude. And each and every day had a different focus and activity. And we brought these activities in through our physical education and health classroom. So again, we reached every single student. But then teachers throughout the school, since they were already involved in this process, they started bringing in their own activities. They saw what we were doing and they expanded on it as well. So you have access to this. Again, if you go to mvhspe.com, you could see exactly what I'm doing. Here, I made just kind of a brief website so that all the teachers, every staff member could see what we were doing so that they could be engaged. And in here, there were things like we had free yoga classes. We did some group fitness classes together at Orange Theory as well that were offered to us just to kind of bring us together. But then I had a copy of the templates as well. So if teachers wanted to use them, and you have access to these as well, you'd be able to pull up any one of these for each and every day. There was a focus when we brought it out. You can see how that laid out. This was obviously the one we had done last fall. And so teachers would actually take this and change it. For example, our foreign language teachers took all these and translated them into the foreign language that they teach. So whether it was Chinese or Spanish or German, they had translated these and they were displaying those within their room, which became a teachable moment as well, and still using what we were using in the school during this entire thing. Here's the actual presentation that we gave to the students, and this was important to share with everybody so that the teachers would use that same language again that we were using for social emotional learning. And again, you have access to this. Here are the videos that we had recently as well. Each time we did a video for these 2 events, again, one was the 2018-2019 school year, one was a 2019-2020 school year. Each time we did this, we did a different video, meaning it had the same soundtrack and the same concept where students and teachers came out and said, hey, here's what I was struggling with. Here's what I did to find help. And here's my suggestion to you of what you should do. That's kind of the script that each of those followed. But each time we had different students and different teachers that were involved in it. So again, it felt very much like this is in our community and this is happening to other people as well. So maybe, hey, advocacy-wise, I should help you or I should help myself. And you can see these videos on here on this website as well. Now, the next important thing was what we were looking at daily at Neuqua Valley when we were incorporating our what we called Serenity Week. Now, Serenity Week was something we came up with, and we were inspired by Health Moves Minds because of all the material they had. So, for example, day 1 was based on kindness. If you look at the Health Moves Minds curriculum, kindness is a big curriculum they put together for kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade. Well, what we wanted to do was, if we looked into the future and we saw within our district, we're a unit school district, meaning we're K through 12, if we saw our elementary schools adopting Health Moves Minds and teaching kindness, we wanted to keep reinforcing it throughout the years. So looking at the high school level, we're going to reinforce kindness, the skill of kindness. And what we did is we have an actual lesson plan that we followed for the school, for the students, so that they could see what it was. In this case, we were doing acts of kindness. And this one actually started out a week before Serenity Week. Monday was kind of the culmination, but what we wanted students to do was to go on and basically just kind of paste in all the things they did that were acts of kindness during our random acts of kindness time. And you'll be able to see in our actual Twitter feed the different things that were there during that time. We also had a kindness poster that we had, which is Be the I in Kind, so students could kind of get a photo of themselves, a selfie, where we put this in our lunchroom. So when students came in, they would stand where the I is, take a picture, and then again post it. And we encouraged everyone, whether it was TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any of those. We encouraged them to go on and post these things, showing their acts of kindness. Now, what are some of the acts of kindness we had? They were very simple sometimes, like helping someone out with homework. Some people actually went out and bought donuts for another person, or they went in and they bought for the person behind them at Starbucks. Things like that were being posted. And how does that work to really do anything? It sounds like, oh, that's kind. Well, here's what we thought. If we get people to practice kindness and others see others practicing kindness, then maybe they will be inspired to be kind more often. And that's what we hoped would come out of it. Also in here, we gave wristbands out to everyone with Health Moves Minds, and on the inside it had all 5 of the different activities we were doing during Serenity Week, the different skills that we were practicing during Serenity Week. Every student got one of these. And then we went down to Tuesday, which was mindfulness. Again, we had a mindfulness lesson. And instead of explaining it, I'm going to let you look at it yourself. But again, this is what the teachers saw. They were also able to share their lessons each and every day that we had it. And we did get some great sharing, which I'll be able to show you a little bit later in this presentation. But I'll let you look at the actual activity we did for mindfulness, for the mindfulness lesson. Again, it's something very easy. You'll just click on it. It'll come right up for you, and you'll be able to see what we did in our PE and health classes as our mindfulness lesson. Wednesday was our day of empowerment. And what we were trying to really focus on was how could things that you might see as weaknesses actually be empowering to you? Or if someone else sees it as strange or different, how could actually that be something that was empowered? We had students actually put a little video together that you can see here as well, which kind of showed them putting up different things that they thought were empowering themselves. But the actual lesson itself, and I'll let you look at that lesson, was trying to inspire people to show things that maybe others look at it differently, whether it be something like what I believe in, or maybe it's like, I play computer games and they think I'm geeky, but actually this has helped me be a better coder. In the long run, that's going to be a lifetime skill for me. That's what we were trying to inspire students. And again, I'll let you look at the lesson where all the students came up, they wrote things on a board so that they can show what empowered them, and that inspired other students to look at it like, yeah, you know what? That's not just being different or weird or whatever. That actually is empowering. Thursday was our day of advocacy. And this was a day we were asking students to advocate for one another. Again, you'll be able to look at the lesson that's there and spend the time to see if that's something that you could use and incorporate yourself. But this is also a time we asked students during their lunch period to show that they were stigma-free. We were trying to stop the stigma of when people say, when a person is going through something with their mental health, there seems to be a stigma to it. A lot of people just think, oh, it's weird, I'm not going to be around you, when in fact, no, we all go through those bouts of anxiety, of depression. We all do. If someone dies, we are going to be depressed. When a lot of work is piled up on us, we are going to have anxiety. And there's nothing wrong with these things. What's more important is, what are the resources that I have outside near me that I can pull in? And part of that is advocacy. If I can pull in other people, then they could be the ones that will help me so that I can get through these times better than I could on my own. Friday was finally our day of gratitude. And on our day of gratitude, we actually, as a department, gave gratitude to all of our students, and we kind of opened it up, kind of like an open gym. We had all these different activities, and students could walk in, sign up for, hey, here's what I'm going to do today. I feel like playing badminton or just working out in the weight room. We had drawing stations. We had someone come in and teach about tapping. We had all kinds of drawings. We have 2 actual campuses that are next to each other. That's why you'll see on here it says, one says main campus, one says BFC. They're 2 actual campuses that we have because of how many students we have. And so we offered different activities at each. So it was kind of a thank you to them. With that, we also had a tree of gratitude. I'm going to show you a little bit of what that gratitude looked like right here. Here's a drumming session. We had the music department take part and come in and do a drumming session. They brought in their own drums. We had a nice silent room where people could just lay out and chill. We had the pool open. Here are our trees of gratitude, where every student who walked into PE that day took a leaf, and they wrote on that leaf someone that they were grateful for doing something for them, or just grateful for them in general. And what we asked them was, hey, put down a first name and why you're grateful for that person. And again, what were we doing? We were practicing the skill of gratitude. So hopefully people would be more gracious over and over and over again. And isn't that how all skills work? The more we practice them, the better we're going to get at them. And so we had all those different activities out there for students to take part in while we did this. Now, I told you teachers shared things when it came into the school. Well, here are some of the things that they actually shared. These are teachers within other classrooms, foreign languages there, for example. One teacher put together a huge plan that you can see there for many activities throughout the entire week. Another person put in that I am unique, that empowerment piece that was there. There's a German piece that you can see up there. So our teachers actually incorporated a lot of these pieces themselves in the classroom. And what this does, it extended during Serenity Week. So this was something they weren't asked they had to do. This was something that they said, hey, if it's something you can enhance based on what we're doing in PE and health, then go right ahead. And a lot of teachers stepped up and started expanding on that language so that students could then practice those skills throughout that week. So where did we go after this? Well, before we get to where we are now, again, this was all part of Health Moves Minds. And if Health Moves Minds is something that you want to be a part of, there's a lot of options for you. You can be a part of it, and you can actually run it as a fundraiser. We didn't put this huge emphasis on it as a fundraiser, but we actually put the fundraising piece in there. And our monies that we received, we were able to choose the organization that we wanted to give it to. And I have to say, this was such an easy process. It was very hands-off. A lot. We did everything kind of online, so if people wanted to donate, those links were there. And we ended up getting a lot of money, which we were able to, part of it goes to Shape America to help fund the Health Moves Minds programming. But the other part, you could say, hey, it's going to be part of my programming for physical education. That's what we're raising the monies for. Or it could be an outside organization. Well, we chose an outside one, which was NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, in our county, in DuPage County. And so we raised those monies and gave them to them. And the reason why, NAMI is one of those organizations that actually comes into our school and does a lot for us. And we don't want to see that programming go away. It fits perfectly into what we were talking about in Serenity Week and why we were doing Health Moves Minds and focusing on social emotional learning. So that's what we did with our monies, was to take any of those and turn them around and bring them right back to NAMI so that we could still see our programming happening within our school for years to come. So what are we doing now? This is more or less our third year that we started this whole program, and I have to say it's expanded exponentially. Instead of being a program that we do just once a year, which we're still planning even in this virtual environment, we're still planning on doing it that way. We are also actually doing it monthly now. So we're looking at topics throughout our entire school district and through our health and physical education program. every single student is now getting this learning, and every month is a different focus that we are taking. And again, I'm going to share this information with you so you could take it. If you want to take it and take it verbatim and run with it, hey, great. Otherwise, if you think it's something that you just want to look at and maybe inspires you to do something yourself, fantastic. If it moves into you being a part of Health Moves Minds and then giving to another organization as well, outstanding. You can take whatever path you want, and that's the purpose of this entire presentation itself. Again, I'm at the NVHSPE website, and I told you the Health Moves Minds is what you'll see what we did the first 2 years. And right next to it is a link that says SEL. If you click on that SEL link, it's going to take you to what we're doing during the 2020-2021 school year. And here it is. Each month we're doing a different focus. So as the months roll on, you'll see the different types of things that we are doing. For example, in August, when we started everything, it actually became more or less our September initiative, but our August Institute is where we introduced to the teachers across the school what we were going to be doing. So before we even had the students there, they saw what our focus was, how physical education and health education were going to take the social emotional pillars of everything and kind of bring it out there. But it didn't just say, oh, is only PE and health owning it. And you'll see in a second what I mean. But here's a perfect example, and like I said, when you go here, you'll be able to see the different things that were here. The first thing I want to share with you that I'd like you to see is the actual lesson itself. There's a time management lesson, and in that lesson, it teaches about time management. We thought, it was timely, being at the very beginning of the year, knowing that we were going to either be remote learning or we were going to be doing some type of hybrid learning. We knew that we were not going to be in Illinois completely face-to-face. So we thought that one of the best things to start out with was time management and trying to teach students how to manage their time better. One of the things that you will see there first and foremost is a video that was put together. And in that video, it was something that we showed the entire staff, and then we showed the students. And I'd like you to take a look at that video so that you'll be able to see just exactly what it was to kind of get us warmed up. And again, it's just an inspirational thing. It's very easy to make your own video to kind of get people into the mode and mindset, and that's really what this was about. Hello? Hello? Wow, this is a really dark screen. It's kind of calming in some ways, but to many people, it's like what life is nowadays. Dark, dismal, depressing, void of happiness. I mean, think about it. The last few months, we have experienced so much. We started doing this, we moved to this, and now we're thinking about doing this. In the last few months, it seems our world has been turning faster than ever. With the constant news and spread of COVID-19, the months of protesting for racial justice, the political pressure of an election year, and landmark rulings like those protecting the LGBTQ community. The amount of information and events we have witnessed in such a short period of time would have been a lifetime worth of events for any of our ancestors. I mean, even outside, people look different. And speaking of masks, there's a lot of cool ones out there when it comes down to it. Some people even got invented and made up their own. Others got kind of lazy and used whatever was around the house. When you think about it, there are some companies that are doing all right during this whole time. And who would have really thought that something like this was going to be worth so much? We have all lived in kind of a virtual world these last couple of months where these videos are commonplace and they eerily remind us of something else, at least for some of us. I mean, it's kind of crazy trying to get in and out of the meetings and challenging. And sometimes we have some epic fails, from forgetting to turn on the mic when we talk, to being distracted by what's in the background of someone else's house, or by having an unwanted guest walk into the video. Hey, watch the door! Oh, it's going to leave a mark on his face and his soul. You know, in reality, much of what we're going through, it's just plain overwhelming. The way we do things in the world now seems to change almost daily. Sometimes We just need to use some simple strategies that will help us in the most unexpected ways. Do you know Mr. Rogers? Well, if you don't, maybe you saw a movie recently with Tom Hanks, who was playing Mr. Rogers, and he does this great activity I want you to do right now. Now, this activity is going to seem kind of long and awkward, but if you can stay engaged with what he's asking you to do, I guarantee you're going to get something good out of it.
Would you do something with me, Lloyd? It's an exercise I like to do sometimes. We'll just take a minute and think about all the people who loved us into being.
I can't do that.
They will come to you. Just 1 minute of silence. Thank you for doing that with me. I feel so much better.
These last few months have been challenging. Yeah, I know you probably have some other words that would better describe it, but we have experienced and seen a lot. And maybe this brief reflection that we had was enough for us to see that, you know what, things aren't really all that bad, they're just different. So after the video that we showed the students, and again, this is something we showed the staff as well in August, so they saw what the lesson was going to look like, they saw the video, and then we followed it up with the lesson. We kind of came up with a motto that we keep for each and every one of our lessons, which is be the best you. That is our logo up there, our mascot, a wildcat, and then our school colors of navy blue and gold. And then be the best you was something that was going to signify we were starting a social emotional learning lesson. Now these lessons, they could take different amounts of time depending on who the teacher is. But again, the focus that we have this year so far is the teachers have been looking at this, and all the PE and health teachers teach this at the beginning of a month. So this first lesson that was done on time management, this was done with all the students, freshmen through seniors in the high schools. And we have 3 high schools within our district. So that we knew in physical education, health education, it would reach every single student. And really quickly, here's how the lesson went. So we have a common type of page that comes up, again, just like the motto that comes up. This page comes up just to kind of remind students from month to month the importance of social emotional learning. Then it focuses on what the concept was itself. In this case, it was time management, talking about the importance of how to manage your time, and then asking, well, what kind of methods and strategies could you use yourself in managing time and encouraging students to talk to one another. And what this ended up being was completely virtual. So we did these discussions on Zoom, which is what we are using in our school district. So students actually talked about the methods that they use, the strategies that they use to try and manage their time throughout the school day. And we then specifically focused on how do you plan on doing this during a virtual environment with the way we have schools set up now and your day and other things going on. Then we show them this picture and say, hey, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to put this together, whatever it is. I want you to put this together and figure out what it is. And the reason I want you to look at this, I want you to look at it like it's your day. You're going to have a lot of pieces that you're putting together, and you don't know what the end product's going to look like unless you had some instruction. Now, there's a little bit of instruction by numbering these things here, but do you really know what it is? And, well, now 30 seconds are up. Were you able to guess that this is what this is? You can buy this at IKEA, 30-inch built-in electric oven, self-cleaning, thermal convection. It's an actual product, and those are the instructions for it. And again, why did we do that? Because again, this is what your daily schedule can look like. It can look like a lot of pieces. And if you don't manage those pieces, you're not going to know what that end product looks like or how it gets put together. So we need to find ways that we can actually organize our day. And one of those ways is, a lot of times we have a planner. A lot of people will have a planner. There's other ways as well. These are some of them that we use in school, whether it be Google Notes, or we have our Zoom classrooms organized in a certain way for all the teachers, so there's a consistency. So when students come in, they know where to find things. We have planners that we've given students, a time management planner when they were freshmen that you could see in the corner up there, up above my head, or another planner that we actually gave to the students that's over to the side. But then we took a little turn and said, don't just plan your day, because what we want to do is really expand on going further than just writing things down of what needs to be done. Like, for example, estimate how much time something's going to take. Don't just write it down. If you are in physics and you have to read chapters 1 through 3, how long do you think it's going to take? Write that down. That's better planning right there, because now you already have a concept of the time it's going to take you to complete that. You might not be totally accurate, so give yourself a little leeway. Maybe go longer. Maybe you think it's going to take you 15 or 20, but we'll say 30 anyway. And do that for the rest of your day. So there's math, there's English. You're going to want to work out sometime during the day, because that's probably part of your PE assignment. You're going to want to have time to have screen time. You're going to want to have time to eat. You're going to want to have time to sleep. So this is really, what's your day going to look like after the actual school day? After lunch, after school day is over, estimate the rest of your day. So this might be 2 o'clock, and you're starting to schedule things there. And then the next part is, when are you going to start these things? Like, write down the time you're going to start doing your physics homework, and then doing your math homework, and then putting the times together. And after you've done all that, you can make a final schedule. And that final schedule, you can now lay out in the pieces you want. So right after school, maybe you're going to do your workout. So that's 3 o'clock p.m. And then after that, hey, you're just going to chill out until it's dinner time on a screen, on your phone, chatting, social media, whatever it might be. And then after dinner, well, you got to kind of rest. I mean, you just ate and you still have time there. And then you're going to start your homework, and you kind of have a whole time scale of when your homework's going to start, when it's going to finish. And if you finish earlier, hey, that's just a bonus. And then maybe there's a great new movie on Netflix you're going to watch at 9. For some students, they are going to bed at midnight. But the good thing is, during this virtual environment, we weren't starting our school day till 8:30 a.m. So they were getting the sleep they need, which is something that high school students have not been getting for decades. But now, looking at that schedule, that could be something realistic and useful to them and successful for them by putting that all together. We then kind of refocus and bring all the students back on how important it is to visualize your time. And by doing this, you're actually making kind of a commitment to yourself. When you write things down like that, you're making a commitment to yourself that you're going to be doing those things and getting those things done. Now, this next slide, this is where the rest of the school became involved. This is where it went beyond just the physical education and health department. We taught it the first week of the month, and then we asked the rest of the school to actually bring out this slide, whether it be the slide you see here, or maybe it's one they made up themselves, and we said at the end of a class period, ask the students to think about what work needs to be done today and how much time it's going to take them to complete, and when do they plan on starting it. So really, they're reinforcing what we had just taught them in physical education. So we're asking the teachers at one time or another throughout the month, and now let's say we only got half the teachers. Well, that still means every single student is going to get this reinforced to them probably 2 or 3 times during the month, practicing that skill of time management, of visually thinking about how long is this homework going to take me, when am I going to start it compared to the other homework and other things I have to do, and get it done for the day. We felt that that was the best way to begin that time management piece for students so that they would be able to be more successful throughout our school year by already trying to manage their time. Now, back to the actual SEL page on our website. There's other resources that are there. There are teachers that have been sharing lessons with us. There's a great little film that I want you to watch called Numb that was done by a student in Canada, a student that's in Canada, a 15-year-old. Their name is Liv McNeil. And she actually put this together over the summer in trying to think about knowing that we're going to be in this virtual environment because of this pandemic, where the socialization piece is kind of going to be gone in many ways. And how is that going to affect students? And it's really a neat film. I wanted teachers especially to see this. This isn't something that we showed to the students. This is something we showed to the teachers in that August Institute to say, think about what your student might be going through when we go through all this virtual learning, this remote learning, even if it becomes hybrid. Think about what they might think, what they might be seeing, because here's a video that kind of shows it through the eyes of a student. So I'd like you to really watch that so you could kind of see what that's about. So after we moved through doing our September lesson, well, like I said, it was month to month. We then had a October lesson. There's another great video. This is one that one of the teachers shared that I ended up putting up. She shared it in her classroom, and I just shared it out with other teachers because I thought it was outstanding. Really cool video, because our October lesson was focusing on mindfulness, how to be mindful. But we took mindfulness in a different way. And I want to show you that in this lesson real quick. The mindfulness lesson took a little bit different approach. When we think mindfulness, a lot of people just think meditation. Mindfulness is just relaxation, things like that, which it is. It is. But I was trying to take it in the sense of when we put this together, we were trying to focus it on, well, how could mindfulness, how could we learn to be mindful in a virtual learning environment? And that's what our lessons are focusing on. They are very much timely with the things we are going through this school year. So again, there's a logo and motto that we use, that same start up to each and every lesson that we're doing. But then we're asking the students, again, this is in all our PE and health classes, well, what is the definition of mindfulness? And so we asked the students to come up with definitions right there in the classroom in our Zoom environment. Again, we're in our Zoom environment in October because we're still not able to get to hybrid or anything yet. But as a result, hey, this was working. We were asking students, what does mindfulness mean to you? Very common answers. Teachers tried in different ways. Some teachers had students answer outrightly in class. Others had students answer in the chat section in Zoom. And others kind of did a poll where they came up with their own answers and put things in there. Then all the teachers asked, how would you practice being mindful during class time, if you defined it and whatnot. So we then moved to what the actual definition of mindfulness is, which is practice focusing full attention in the present. And again, that's what we're trying to teach in this lesson, is trying to focus within the present, within the class, being in a remote classroom. How could I be mindful? So the activity we did was to try and figure out distractors that you might see during a class time and how to do mindful listening. So we actually asked students to go into, we sent them into little breakout rooms, which we were finding from the very beginning, breakout rooms were not working in a Zoom environment. Breakout rooms take a lot of training, because when you send students into breakout rooms, they become very silent in those breakout rooms, like nobody talks. So what we had students do is we gave them some questions of what they were going to ask. And in this case, it was, what character in a book, movie, TV show do you find or relate to the most? And during that activity, they had to have their cameras off. So before we sent them into breakout rooms, we said all cameras off. And we'd like you to go into that breakout room and discuss this. Every one of you needs to discuss it, knowing that not every student was going to. And as a matter of fact, as we went through this lesson, some students, some rooms did not talk at all. And some students were distraught by that, because here you came into a breakout room, everybody's camera is off. Someone might be talking or nobody might be talking at all. But that was the type of situation we were trying to create. It was a very short time they were in that breakout room. They were supposed to have this discussion, and then we brought them back and said, so how did that feel? How did that feel for everyone to have their cameras off? And then if somebody talked, how did it feel to be the person talking to the completely turned off cameras? How did it feel to be listening to someone talking with their camera off? And we related it to ourselves as teachers. When it came to us, how we feel then when your camera is off. And at the same token, how you might feel, what if our camera was off and we were trying to teach? Could you really be mindful in the lesson and actually get something out of it? And then the next piece was, what were the distractors that you found during this activity? And the distractors could be anything from something outside, maybe someone's mowing the lawn, to somebody in the house yelling and screaming, to a TV on, to something else on a computer screen. The most common answer, and again, this was something we had teachers ask in polls or in the chat or out loud, the most common answer was their phone. The phone was the number one biggest distractor. So this became that teachable moment for students to realize the importance of, if I'm going to be in a breakout room, if I'm going to be part of a class, the best mindful thing I could do is have my camera on, be talking to someone, be part of the conversation. The second thing is, before I even get in there, make sure my distractors are completely off, and usually meaning my phone. Get the distractors out of the way so I could be mindful and present within the lesson. This last slide that you see here, this is what the teachers we asked throughout the rest of the school to do and share. So again, physical education and health taught this completely, and then we had the rest of the teachers in the school take this one slide. They could take it as it is, or they can make it up themselves, and we asked them to ask these questions at the beginning of a class. And again, if only half our teachers did it, even if only a third of our teachers did it, every single student in our school would probably work on the skill 2 or 3 times during the month, which is outstanding. If every teacher did it, well, now every student's going to be hearing it at least 5 or more times for sure. But we asked every teacher at the beginning of a class time during October, do this at least once. Ask students, how could you be mindful today in class? Here's what we're going to be doing today. How could you be mindful in class today? And what distractors might take you off task? And then have a discussion. Maybe we should get those distractors out of the way so we could be more mindful during our class period. Well, that was a lot of material I gave, but I hope I gave you kind of a really good glimpse of how social emotional learning was something we approach at a high school level at our high school, and how Health Moves Minds was really the catalyst that got us started with it. How it also evolved from just being something that we did once a year into something we are now doing every single month and focusing on. Also looking at the fact that this went beyond just looking at, okay, let's define these things into let's practice these things as skills. We're practicing mindfulness, we're practicing empowerment, we're practicing advocacy, gratitude. These are skills that we're actually practicing, that we're trying to get the students to practice and learn as well. I've got a lot of content out there. Like I said, here's the website, mvhspe.com. It is open for you to look at and hopefully be useful to you. If you ever have any questions or anything for me, just scroll down to the bottom of that page. This is all my contact information right here. This is my direct number to my desk, and then this is my email address as well, where you can get a hold of me. I hope this lesson has been really useful to you. Like I said, This wasn't meant to be something like, you got to do it this way. If anything, I hope it just inspired you to create your own program and see the importance of the different things that we could work on. I'd love to hear the ideas and things that you're working with. I think you'll see, if you keep looking at our SEL page for our school, you'll start to see each month the different types of topics that we're following. And I'd love to hear the ideas, and hopefully some of the ideas that we come up with in our school become, again, more and more inspirational for you as well. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this organization for your virtual convention. And I hope to see many of you in the future.